This vlog I'm going to be talking about the Hattree. There's been a fair bit of work on it recently. It's going to be a little bit bitsy because I'm going to be including footage from the last couple of weeks. So what I'm wearing might change a little bit, but essentially it's coming along. I've got about 3 weeks left. I think I'm on target, and I've tried to get in early with stuff. Done some big days, having to work around Cal's timetable as well. He's got stuff on as well, sharing the space at the moment. I don't know how stressful that is for him, but it feels a bit odd for me being in someone else's space. So I'll show you what I've got. So today I'm doing a test run on the Hattree mechanism. The Hattree is a sculpture based on a Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny cartoon from, I think, in the 1960s, early 60s, maybe late 50s, probably early 60s. There'll be a link below for that. And this is a sculpture that is based on the kind of the premise and the kind of the comedic mechanism of that cartoon. It involves a tree, a hat, and a counterweight. Come on. The sculpture enables a person to put on a random hat, and it's going to have a prop hanging down as well, and then to interact with their neighbour who's on the next branch according to what personality the hat gives them. And I'm just testing out what's happening with how the mechanism works. I've got some nice pulleys. I'm just trying to work out what feels most comfortable on the head, because it's got to kind of hold on, but you obviously don't want to hang the person. Then once I've worked out the mechanism, we build the whole thing, and it's got probably about 10 arms on it, and it's got wheels so you can roll it around, and it's got lots of bright colours. And Cal is going to help me with that. Take one, Hattree mechanism. Lightness is the secret. Now I just need to get a whole load of these hats. So for the Hattree, I've also been putting together objects to go with the tree, and one of the characters I wanted is a cowboy, and he's going to have a little old school rifle. Now this was in 2 parts. You can see I've glued it together here. It was missing this middle section, which I guess is the chambers with the bullets. So I've run a piece of very thick wire through here to make up for the weakness in these 2 joints here. So this is nice and tough now, but I don't have this middle bit, and I was thinking of putting a piece of aluminium across that. And then I was searching through my crap, and as often happens, I found something which works perfectly. It's this little gun. You notice this section here is exactly the same as this, so I don't know whether it's the same company or something. So what I'm doing, I've chopped out this, and I'm going to cut it further, and it's just going to glue straight in. And this is one of the really nice things about doing bricolage, is that even though there is thousands of objects in my studio, and you can't possibly keep a knowledge of where they all are, I do have them roughly sorted, very roughly. And so if I need something, you know, especially doing something like this, and I prefer to use what's in the studio, I'll just kind of just listen to, there's a little intuition, and my brain will say, hey, just go and have a look around here. And so I'll just go and fossick around in a box under the bench somewhere, or in a drawer or something, and I'll just find something which pretty much works perfectly. But you see, once I chop that bit off and glue that in, the same on the other side, I've got the whole gun back again. So that's a bonus. Another object I'm going to be using is Cloudboy's original gun, and I believe this is a Nintendo gun made in Japan. And this came with the original. I used this on the original Cloudboy suit, and I'm not using it now, so I thought I'm going to use it as a ray gun, because I want to have like a spaceman on the Hattree as well. And I've blocked the end up, and I'm going to put the classic little Jetsons ray piece with the ball on the end and some little discs on there, and that'll get hung up through here. Everything will be painted nice, bright, you know, cartoony colours in the pastel shades, because that's very 1950s. So what I've ended up doing for the ray gun is I've got this very hard piece of wire, which I think is an old it's an old tent peg. Very tough. You've got to make these things idiot proof, especially for festivals. And then I've made some little kind of washer things out of stray plastic from inside a toy. And these discs, which are part of the, I don't know what they actually do in the ray gun, but you know, Jetsons, they always have those little discs on things, on aerials, and they look really cool. And I've made them just out of some poly pipe that I cut and drilled, and then there's this big plastic bead that'll go on the end. I'm going to arrow dart the lot together, and then it slips in there, just like that. The metal for, oh, hello Gaia, hi. The metal for the Hattree arrived, so I've got this nice big sheet of, I think it's 1mm steel. I got some square section and lots of rod. Oh, there you go. Oh, what have you got? Oh, you've got your rubber toy. Just finished cutting all the metal out for the Hattree sculpture for Burning Seed, and using the metal saw all day. This was my first opportunity to do welding, so Cal was training me. He did all the exterior welds because everything had to be super strong, and I got to do all the fill, blew out plenty of holes, but then also learned how to fix holes, which was all part of the learning experience. We did a lot of grinding to clean up all the blobby welds that I left behind. So this is my best weld that I did out of all of them. The rest of them, I think I blew a hell of a lot of holes through the metal. 1 out of 50 maybe. Beginner. Cal's skills were invaluable when making the trunk because of the very subtle angles involved. So we built a jig which had the top and bottom welded exactly in place, and then all we had to do was insert the arms and weld the ends. Came together so easy, I had no idea how to do this part. Here's the finished trunk and base. You can see the base ring of the trunk lines up perfectly with the square in the middle, and there are 8 bolts that run through that into welded nuts. That was an epic day. I've just cut and sanded all the branches for the Hattree. Lot of work, but pretty cool. Just kind of knocked it off in one go. My plan is to I've got 5 weeks to get this thing, maybe 4.5 now, to finish the piece. Generally when I have that kind of deadline, I hammer out as much as possible early on, and then you can cruise a little bit later on when your deadline's coming up. It's kind of an old chef mentality, just regardless of how busy you're going to be, prep like you're going to have 1,000 people come through the door, and then you can just kind of chill a bit when it actually gets busy and you see what goes on. So this is what I've done, going with 9 branches as the 10th branch. Just, I wasn't really feeling it, didn't feel quite right. So all of them have been ground down so that they can take the pipe like that. The pipe will be angle cut and they'll all be welded on kind of like this around the top of the tree. And all the branches will slot in, and there'll be a hole through this and through the wood, and a bolt will go through to hold them in place. So with the pipe I've welded on a nut, a little bit of tack welding, and then there's a bolt that goes in there. And so when the branch goes in this end, this at the other end, this end is fixed, branch goes in this end, and then you tighten the bolt, and that clamps the branch into the tube without actually adding any weakness to the branch. I was initially thinking of drilling through it, and Cal suggested this method. And Cal's very good at, he thinks around things very, very methodically, but you know, he's obviously extremely expert in these things, and I quite often do think of something overcomplicated. Here's the trolley. Super tough. Each of these tires can take 300 kilo. The axle is 30 mil thick. And here is the central trunk. Again, it's just the structure. So you can see some of the pipes. They've just been tack welded on at the moment. Hopefully I get to do the proper weld, but the proper weld takes a little bit more skill. Occasionally I get it right, but you know, Cal's probably concerned about the whole thing not bloody falling over or breaking, which is, you know, he's my mentor, so it's not really my fault if it happens, you know, so he's going to make sure those are good welds. Hopefully I get to do some of them. Less likely to blow out this thick metal than this metal. This blows out, it's a lot thinner. Structurally stronger because of the shape. This is less likely to blow out because you can see how thick it is. And these plates here are going to have more branches coming out at a slightly different angle, but I've got to recut those. But I'm waiting on Cal so we can get these welds done, and then I can get that all sorted. This is the base of the platform. All the wood came from a really nice heavy duty pallet. I found it's good wood, and I chopped it deliberately to look odd and cartoony. It's all been sanded down, it's all quite nice soft edges, so there's no splinters. Even though it's screwed together, I've thrown in these big chunky bolts at random spots because it makes it look really cartoony and shonky. Some really nice knot holes that I knocked out the actual knot, so again you get this cartoony feel, and it's actually super strong, but it's made to look like the Wile E. Coyote put it together. Currently the hats, the little kind of hunting hats with the ear flaps are off with Angela being adjusted. I wasn't able to get a large size, and my head's large, so I used that as a measurement, and I couldn't get that size, so she's adjusting the size of them by putting an extra band across the middle, so they'll basically fit most people. And I'm slowly getting the hats which will be attached to those. So here are some of the hats that I'm going to be putting on the Hattree. This is a direct reference to the cartoon. It is Douglas MacArthur's hat, who Elmer Fudd appears as at one point. I'm going to sew this onto the front up there, maybe a little bit more braiding. And there's a little corn cob pipe made from some foam, a bit of pipe, which will be hanging down on a little crooked wire from the brim of the hat. Classic Viking hat. Marvin the Martian helmet. I want to put a little piece on the back of it, just a little skirt, and then there's got to be a toilet brush or a little scrubbing brush attached onto the ridge. Cowboy hat. I don't know, it could be Woody from Toy Story, but there's got to be a cowboy hat. Accessories so far. Huge pair of scissors. Nice little Viking axe made out of EVA foam, which is a new thing for me, but it came up quite nicely. The whole top's been made by me and it's been attached to a little police baton. Clown wig, ray gun. Gotta have a toilet plunger on there somewhere. I got this wig. I'm not really that happy with it. So I think I'm actually gonna make my own. I think I'm gonna use these braids and make some nice wool hair at the top. We'll make a whole new one out of wool. It just seems a little bit more fun. This is, I don't know, something about this I don't like. I don't know if it's just because it's just nasty nylon. Might have a little pair of maracas on there as well. Of course, I'm not going to hang the props with, you know, the correct hat. So like the cowboy hat will not have the gun. The Viking hat will not have the axe. They will be all mixed up so that there's complete confusion for everybody. So here it is. Well, here's the structure. Look at that. Not bad, just like the drawing. Alright, I've just finished the last bit of welding. Some of it under the scrupulous gaze of Cal. Always freaks me out when he comes over and looks at it. But I'll show you this one. I'm really happy with this one. This one's really cool. I think that bit's quite nice. That bit's bloody horrible. Yeah, that's terrible. It's like using Chinese brushes in the dark with huge amounts of electricity running through everything. It's the weirdest machine I've ever used. But regardless of aesthetic qualities, apparently 1 inch of welding is meant to hold a ton of weight. So this is just going nowhere. I mean, it looks, quite a lot of it looks but ugly. And I'm going to grind it down a little bit, but it's not going anywhere, that's for sure. It's really over-engineered. A plasma cutter forces high pressure oxygen through an electrode that is arcing onto the metal. The oxygen ignites and forms plasma, which is superheated matter, and it just cuts through the metal like butter. It's amazing. This was a game changer for me. Just love this device. The bark is what I call a -1 spiral. Essentially, if you count the inside facets, you'll find that there's one less than there is on the exterior of the spiral. This, for some reason, is very pleasing because you tend to get angles opposing flat sides. And it also has this very 1950s feel to it that I can't explain. It's just something about the aesthetic of 1950s and especially the cartoons. After an initial layer of etch prime just to help bond the paint onto the metal, I circled around using 4 or 5 different blue paints or premium graffiti sprays,
Worked my way up to the crown of the tree and then dusted back between the layers to blend them. Super great finish. Came back with barely a scratch. Just gorgeous paints to work with. I kept all the colours in the pastel range, which is something I favour because it makes it easier to get more colours involved in the work. The high saturation, it just becomes gaudy.